Hey guys, my name is Sadie and welcome back to my channel, or if it's your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you're watching this video. Today I'm going to be talking about skincare and we're going to be going back to the basics and talking about how to build a skincare routine. And when I'm talking about building a skincare routine, I'm focusing mainly on those core products that every person should be using in their skincare routine. So that would be cleanser, moisturizer, and SPF. And then I'll talk a little bit more about those extra steps like toners or essences or exfoliators, even though I kind of think an exfoliator is something that should be part of everyone's skincare routine as well. I know it's really easy to get caught up in these multi-step routines, 7-step or 10-step or even longer, and get caught up in all of the new product releases. But if you're a beginner or just feeling overwhelmed with skincare in general and don't really know where to start, I'm going to be talking about some of those basic steps that you should always have as a part of your nighttime and morning time routines, and giving some product recommendations for each of these steps as well. So without further ado, let's get into how to build the right skincare routine for you. A really important step as you're starting to build your skincare routine is to know what kind of skin type you have, whether it be more dry or oily or somewhere in between. One quick method you can use to find out what your skin type tends towards is, after cleansing your face, wait about 5 to 10 minutes after not applying any extra product to it and see how your skin feels. If you have more dry skin, then you'll notice your skin may feel a little tight. Most people don't necessarily fall into just dry or just oily skin, but you can notice what your skin tends towards more and then gear your products around that skin type. Then after knowing your skin type, it's also good to consider your skin concerns, whether that be things like acne or fine lines or texture. So if you're just starting to build a skincare routine, I would definitely be less concerned with those more specific skin conditions and just focus on getting those core products and having a healthy skin and skin barrier in general. Okay, so the steps that I consider to be absolutely essential to everyone's skincare routine is cleansing, moisturizing, and using an SPF in the daytime, and also using an exfoliator 2 to 3 times a week, or maybe even more once your skin has built up that resiliency. So first, let's start with cleanser. When it comes to cleansing, I am definitely a big fan of the double cleanse, which is going in with 2 separate cleansing steps. The first one being more oil-based, and then the second one being whatever type of texture that your skin and you prefer. I'm someone who wears makeup most days, so definitely going in with that oil-based cleanser on my first cleanse is going to help take all of that off. But even if you don't wear makeup, if you're wearing SPF every day, which you should be, then getting that first step oil cleanser is going to help take that off completely too. Going in with just one cleansing step may not remove all of that SPF off of your face. So while a 2-step cleanse can seem kind of cumbersome, I think it's really important, and I've seen a lot of change in my skin from just getting my cleansing step right. And you would be surprised at how important cleansing is actually to the health of your skin, because that is what's going to start off your whole skincare routine. If you're starting off your skincare routine and you haven't cleansed it properly, then whatever you put on top of that isn't really going to end up helping as much as it could. One product recommendation I do have that I think anyone with any skin type would like is this one by Naturium. This is the fermented camellia creamy cleansing oil. So this is more of like a cleansing gel texture, but is not necessarily like a liquid oil and is not necessarily a solid balm. It's somewhere in between, and I actually really like that. So you just massage this dry onto your hands and then onto your face. And then another important step after working it onto your face is also to take some water and splash it onto your face as well, and then start to work that in as well. That will emulsify the oil and it'll start to turn a little milky white, and that's when you should wash off your oil cleanser. A good oil cleanser will not leave any sort of product feeling on your face, but even if it does, you're always going to go in with a second cleanse as well. And another quick recommendation I want to mention is this cleansing oil from Purito. This is the From Green cleansing oil. I think if you had more dry skin, you'd like this more as opposed to having more oily skin, but I've heard people with both skin types enjoy this too. Now getting into that second step cleanse, there's a lot of different options when it comes to textures you could choose for that second cleanse. For me personally, I tend to like gel textured cleansers, and one cleanser that I've mentioned so many times, that I've rebought so many times but actually don't have a current bottle of, but one that I absolutely love and I think is probably my favorite cleanser I've ever tried, is the Krave Beauty Matcha Hemp Hydrating Cleanser. You'll notice that I mentioned Krave many times throughout this video, but that's because I believe that their core products are just so great and kind of represent what it is to have a good skincare routine with good basics that everyone could benefit from. But anyways, that matcha hemp hydrating cleanser is the perfect gel texture. It lathers onto the skin really nicely, but it still does not feel like your face is at all dry and tight afterwards. I know, especially having dry skin, that's something I can really notice after a second cleanser especially, but I never feel that with this cleanser. This cleanser by Krave is fairly affordable at $16, but if we're looking more towards a drugstore price range and even more affordable, another cleanser I think specifically dry skin types would like is this one by CeraVe, and this is the Hydrating Facial Cleanser. CeraVe is one of those go-to dermatologist brands that a lot of dermatologists just really love and really recommend, and I feel like it's one of those brands that you can generally trust that their products are going to be safe and kind to your face. I'm just, to be honest, not that excited by CeraVe, so I don't find myself using them or buying them very often, but they are a very accessible and affordable brand, and I do especially like this cleanser. And a third cleanser I want to mention is the Pink Cloud Cleanser by Herbivore, which is definitely the most expensive cleanser that I'm mentioning, but is another gel textured type cleanser that I really enjoy too, which, similar to the Krave, has the best of both worlds where it foams up pretty nicely so you feel like you get that good clean feeling on your face, but still leaves your skin feeling soft afterwards, which is really what I'm looking for when it comes to a cleanser. Foam cleansers are also a really great option, especially if you have more sensitive skin. My favorite foam cleanser I've tried is this one by Etude House, and this is from their Jung line. Any skin type could really enjoy this cleanser. It just comes down to what you personally prefer, but especially if you have more sensitive skin, this is a great one to try out. I definitely, after cleansing, would put in a toner, an essence, or a serum, but again, we're talking just basics today, so we're moving on to moisturizers. And moisturizers, I feel like, is the place where you'll find more varied products depending on what skin type you have, whether it be dry or oily. If you have more oily skin, moisturizers that are gel textured or water cream textured are more suited for that skin type. And then if you have more dry skin, things that are heavier creams or contain oils in them specifically are the moisturizers I personally prefer. I usually like to have a different daytime and nighttime moisturizer, but you can definitely go in with the same moisturizer day and night. I personally just like going in with a slightly heavier moisturizer at night to really lock in all that moisture as I'm sleeping. Two moisturizers I want to mention for more oily skin types. One is by Krave Beauty, and this is their Oat So Simple Water Cream. I very much loved the light texture of this moisturizer, but for me, as someone with dry skin, it just didn't feel like enough even during the day. But if you had more oily skin, I think this would be a great hydrating and soothing option for you. And another oily skin option I want to mention is this one by Glow Recipe, and this is their Banana Souffle Moisturizer. If you don't like the smell of bananas, then this one definitely won't be the moisturizer for you, but if you don't mind fragrance in your skincare and you don't mind the smell of bananas specifically, and you have more oily skin, this would be a great nighttime option. And now, since I do have more dry skin, I do have a couple more dry skin moisturizers to mention. This one that I love to use during the day is by e.l.f., and this is the Holy Hydration Face Cream. Especially during the winter time, I still like to go in with something slightly heavier during the day, but not something too heavy or too oily or slick, and this walks the line for a perfect daytime moisturizer for me during the winter. And of course, e.l.f. is a pretty affordable and accessible brand, so love that. Another one I've been really enjoying using during the day is this one by Sioris, and this is it used to be called the You Look So Young Night Cream, but I believe it's now called the Deep in a Barrier Cream. Sioris is one of my favorite Korean skincare brands. This moisturizer by Sioris is a great daytime option if you have more dry skin. I think it's a perfect, nice, light cream, but it also does contain tamanu oil, so it gives that extra boost of hydration. And also you can see the benefits of tamanu oil over time, which include lightening up some dark spots or helping with certain irritation on the skin. And when it comes to nighttime moisturizers for dry skin, this one I have to mention is by Tatcha, and it's the Dewy Skin Cream. This is a very expensive moisturizer for sure, but it is still my go-to and my favorite when it comes to nighttime moisturizers. And another more affordable favorite I want to mention is this one by Naturium, and this is their Plant Ceramide Moisture Rich Cream. If you've tried the Biossance Squalane Omega Repair Cream, this one has a very similar texture to the Naturium one, and I think that those are both great nighttime options for more dry skin. No matter what texture or format you prefer when it comes to moisturizer, you should still be using one no matter what skin type you have. Just go for those more gel or water cream based ones if you have more oily skin, and go for something a little heavier if you have more dry skin. And now the last essential step that everyone should be using is an SPF during the daytime. At least going in with something like a 30 SPF is something I believe everyone should be using. No, the SPF claim that your makeup has is not going to be enough to properly protect your skin. That's because when you're using something like a sunscreen, you really need to apply a pretty generous amount to really get all the protection from it that you would expect from a sunscreen, and you would never end up applying that much makeup on your skin as you would a proper amount of sunscreen. So even if your makeup does have an SPF in it, you should always still be applying a sunscreen underneath it. This one I've mentioned multiple times on my channel that I think have options for both oily and dry skin types is the Biore UV Aqua Rich Watery Essence. You would think I have the name completely memorized by now considering how many times I've mentioned it. But there is a watery essence and there is a watery gel. The watery gel is this one that I have here, and I actually ended up picking up this one by mistake. The gel, as compared to the essence, is a lot more liquidy and a lot more runny and has more of like a silk matte finish on the face rather than the watery essence, which has a more gel bouncy type texture that has definitely more of a dewy finish on the face. So if you have more oily skin, I'd go for the gel, and if you have more dry skin, I definitely go for the essence. When it comes to sunscreens, I just think that the options for Japanese and Korean sunscreens are just miles ahead of options that you can find from American brands or in the drugstore in the US. I just think they're so much better, and my skin has not broken out for them or reacted negatively from using them. I know when I was younger, I would always avoid using a sunscreen on my face, even sometimes being at the beach, because it would always make me break out so badly. So I'm so happy I found these formulations that totally work for my skin and don't at all feel like a hassle to use. This other favorite that I want to mention is a newer but also kind of older release. This is a re-release of the Purito sunscreen, and this is the daily go-to sunscreen, and this is SPF 50. If you remember, many months or maybe even a year ago from this point, a lot of the Korean sunscreens were revealed to not have truly the SPF that they claim to have. But now Purito as a brand is being a lot more transparent to their customers when it comes to the lab and test results from their SPFs now, which is kind of expected because of what's happened before. But now I feel like I can really trust this SPF, and this is kind of a re-release of the really popular one from before, but I think this one has a pretty different texture and is a lot more glowy on the skin. I think this one is great and I've really loved using it. If you have dry skin, I especially recommend this, but I've heard people with oily skin types have also really loved this too. Sunscreens are so essential, and I think it's so important to find a sunscreen that does not feel like a burden to use. So finding a sunscreen that you actually enjoy using, that you don't have any issues applying, or you don't have any issues with white cast with, that's just gonna make it so much more likely that you actually use the sunscreen, which is the important part of it. So find one that you really like, and don't buy a really expensive one. I know that sunscreens, places like Sephora, specifically from like the Supergroup brand, can be super expensive for just a small amount, and you do not need to spend that much money when it comes to sunscreen, especially because you're going to end up using a lot of it anyways and running through it really fast. So there are wonderful, affordable sunscreens out there. You should buy them and definitely use them every day. Okay, those basic 3 steps of cleansing, moisturizing, and SPF are what I consider to be essentials for everyone. Also, another step that I kind of think is an essential too is an exfoliator. An exfoliator is something that you're not going to use every day. However, you should really be exfoliating anywhere from 2 to 3 times a week, maybe a little bit more if you have more resilient skin. Everyone, no matter what skin concern you have, can benefit from exfoliating. And my favorite form of exfoliating these days is using a liquid toner exfoliant, One of my favorites, again by Crave Beauty, is their kale-lalu-yAHA, and this is a glycolic acid exfoliator. Glycolic acid is an AHA, which means it is more focused on the surface of your skin rather than going a little deeper like a BHA would. Glycolic acid is a pretty popular form of that liquid toner exfoliant that you'll find in a lot of products, but this one by Crave I feel like is in a pretty mild version that is still effective, and the toner itself can give your skin some hydration at the same time. This super popular BHA that I feel like so many people have mentioned is by Paula's Choice, and this is their salicylic acid BHA toner. I tend to like AHAs more than BHAs, but if I'm noticing I'm having an especially bad breakout, that's when I will go for something more of a salicylic acid rather than an AHA. But I still like using both, and I will usually switch between them, not within the same week, but you know, different weeks from each other. Exfoliating is going to help remove some of those dry spots or places of buildup on your skin that everyone will have. No matter how well you cleanse your face, everyone is just going to have buildup on their skin from over time, so exfoliating is a really essential step. Exfoliating can help with issues of acne, it can help with clearing up some skin texture, but I would say one thing to be aware of, especially if you're a beginner, is to not go overboard on things like exfoliators, and expecting using some harsh exfoliator really often is going to help with skin texture. In my experience, having a healthy skin barrier, one that is hydrated and moisturized, is so much more important than exfoliating many times a week. It can actually do a lot more damage to your skin in the long run and not end up helping those issues that you think you're going to help. So be careful of exfoliators, but don't be afraid of them. Now to get into those steps that are truly extras that you can add to your skincare routine if you want, if you're interested. Things like toners and essences and serums are definitely things that I have so loved putting into my skincare routines. And in these serums, you can see a pretty high concentration of some of these active ingredients that are going to help with more of these skin issues. And I am just a big fan of a toner step in general, or an essence step. I think it's so great for preparing your skin for whatever you're going to put on top of it, and just adding an extra bounce to your skin, helping with that glow, or having so many different benefits, helping with sensitivity or redness in your skin. I'm a big fan of toners and serums in general, and that probably is like my favorite part of my skincare routine. But like I said, these are on top of the basics, and you don't necessarily need them in your skincare routine, but I personally love them. One product I want to mention is this one, again by Sioris, and this is the My First Essener, and this is a combination of an essence and a toner, and to me, it has such an interesting texture to it. It is like almost, if you've ever seen Jello when it's like not fully set, it is so jelly-like. It looks really like a not completely set Jello, and whenever I use it, I always make sure to shake it up first, but it has really that thicker than water kind of feeling to it. It almost feels like a serum, but it is still just like an essence or a toner. If you have dry skin, I think you would love this. This also contains mugwort leaf extract, which is great for helping with redness and sensitivity in the skin. I'm a big fan of mugwort in toners and essences. And speaking of mugwort, one for oily skin that I want to mention is from I'm From, and this is the I'm From mugwort essence. This is definitely a more light texture as compared to the Sioris one that I think you would love, even if you had oily skin. And also, if you're dealing with issues of acne, mugwort can be one of those ingredients that can help with soothing and calming some of those redness or inflammation that you'll find in your skin. When it comes to serums, if there's two basic types of serums that I would recommend to pretty much anyone, that would be a niacinamide serum and a hyaluronic acid serum. I've of course mentioned many times my dearly beloved favorites of the Glow Recipe niacinamide and hyaluronic serums. Glow Recipe is great as a brand, but I just think specifically serums, they do so well. So I love the Watermelon Glow niacinamide dewdrops, and I also love the Plum Plump hyaluronic serum, and this newer one by them is their Guava Vitamin C Dark Spot Serum. So this one is not a niacinamide or hyaluronic serum that I mentioned, but this one contains vitamin C and also tranexamic acid, and this is really going to help lighten the dark spots on your skin. And I have so loved using this one. I am such a fan of this product. So many of the vitamin C serums that I have tried in the past, my skin has absolutely hated. I've seen some sort of adverse reaction, whether it be redness in my skin or just irritation in general, or my skin feeling extra sensitive to the touch. So I've hated that and steered clear away from vitamin C in general because of that, and will use something like niacinamide more for lightening up those dark spots. But I am just so loving this formulation and truly have been so surprised at the results I'm seeing from this in lightening up some of those spots left over from acne. Glow Recipe just has so many great serums, but they are a pretty pricey brand. So when it comes to those basic serums like niacinamide and hyaluronic acid, another brand that I want to mention that you can find at Sephora is the Inkey List. Yes, there is another affordable brand at Sephora that you could buy as well, The Ordinary, but I just think that the Inkey List has more sophisticated formulations, especially when it comes to layering makeup and layering more products on top. I had so many issues in the past with products from The Ordinary just pilling super badly, or just not playing well with whatever I put on top of it, or just leaving like a super sticky or really terrible feeling on my skin after using them. So no, I don't like The Ordinary, but I love the Inkey List. They're very similar brands when it comes to price point and also the types of products that they have. It's just all about that star ingredient that they advertised and no other frills when it comes to it. So super basic, but still a super high concentration of the products. And with the Inkey List, way more sophisticated formulations that I think more people would like. And of course that affordable price point, which is fantastic, especially when it comes to beginners. Serums, toners, and essences are again add-ons to a basic skincare routine, but I really think can add so much. Okay, and that completes this video on how to build the right skincare routine for you. If you have any thoughts on the products I mentioned or some other product recommendations that you think I would like, leave them in the comments down below. I would love to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like or a comment down below if you feel so inclined. If you haven't already, hit subscribe to stick around. I would so appreciate if you did. And until the next video, I will see you all then. Bye!